Good morning, sir.
Morning,
Can you hear
Mr.
me?
Nihal. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Thank you. How are you, sir?
I'm good. So, Mr. Nihal, what do you mean by Nihal?
It's a Punjabi word. It means someone who's very happy, contented. It's a sort of spiritual variant of happiness.
Okay, good. So, World Happiness Report has recently been released. Any idea related with that? World Happiness Report 2025.
Yes, sir. I did read about it in the newspapers.
So, tell me, where do we stand and which country is at the top as far as happiness is concerned?
So, if I recall correctly, I think Finland was at the top, and the top 20 nations are the European nations, mostly European nations, sorry. And
Okay, and
India,
where do we stand?
India, I don't remember the exact number, but I remember India had improved its position compared to earlier reports by around 6 to 8 places, but it is definitely outside the top 100.
Below top 100 or above 100?
Above top 100, sir. Outside of the top 100. So, on the
Okay,
lower half.
okay, good enough. So, Mr. Nihal, which is your optional subject?
So, political science and international relations.
Okay, political science. Okay, let's start with political science only. So, any constitutional amendment which you would like to select on which we can have little conversation with you. We can have little conversation.
So,
Any. Starting
any
from first
constitution.
to 106. 106 amendments have been made in the constitution. Anyway, so select any from first to 106 amendment in the constitution, and we will have a little discussion related with that.
So, the 42nd constitutional amendment, sir.
Okay, 42nd amendment in the constitution. So main 4 or 5 points related with 42nd amendment in the constitution, and it is known as mini constitution also. So select any 5 or 6 points related with that and tell me about those in brief. Go ahead.
May I take a moment to just
Sure.
correct my thoughts? So, firstly, it firstly it increased the power of the parliament to amend the constitution.
Good.
As opposed to the previous, because of the fact that it had come to light in the background of the judgment by the courts, which curtailed the power of the constitution in those regards.
Okay.
Secondly, sir, it took out the election of the prime minister from the looking into the elections of the prime minister from the purview of the courts, as in any irregularities which could have been might have been committed, and which could earlier have been looked into by the courts, election-related disputes. Those were then taken out of the purview of the courts. So then it introduced the fundamental duties into the constitution, which said this.
Okay.
So I'm not able to recall any other.
Okay, no problem. So related with this constitutional amendment only, 42nd amendment in the constitution, you might be very well aware of the Minerva Mill case judgment. So two provisions which were made through 42nd amendment in the constitution was declared unconstitutional by Honorable Supreme Court in the Minerva Mill case judgment. So what exactly these were? Are you aware of Minerva Mill case judgment?
Yes, sir, but I'm unable to exactly recall the.
Okay. Now,
sorry,
let's talk about the fundamental duties. So, how many fundamental duties were introduced through this particular constitutional amendment, and in which section, in which article rather, that amendment was made? Anyway, A was added in the article 51.
51A, 51A.
51A. A was added. 51 was already there. So
Yes,
A
sir.
was added for those fundamental duties. So how many fundamental duties were introduced through 42nd amendment in the constitution?
So sorry, sir, I'm not able to recall exactly. how many were I think
And was there any constitutional amendment also through which fundamental duty was added in that list?
yes, so later on, I remember that the right after when the Right to Education Act was passed
Yeah.
around that time.
So Right to Education Act was passed. So which was that constitutional amendment? And which fundamental duty was added through that constitutional amendment?
So sorry, sir, I don't remember the constitutional amendment exact number of the name of the constitutional amendment.
Okay.
But it did add the fundamental duty that enjoined the parents or the guardians of children had to enroll them into primary education.
Good enough. Good enough. So, as you might be aware, that 4% reservation has been given to Muslim contractors in Karnataka. So, what is your take on it? Whether it is a right step, whether it is constitutional? Are you aware of that? That 4% reservation is given to the Muslim contractors in the government contracts. Are you aware of that?
Yes, sir, I did read about that.
So now you tell me, what is your take on it? Whether it is a right step, whether it is constitutional?
So, if as to my take on it, I think in general it is not advisable to use sectarian or essentially religious lines in terms of any government.
It is not advisable, or can we say that it is not in the constitution? So we can say it is unconstitutional. So
for me to declare it to be unconstitutional, I think I would need to actually look into the law in much more in much greater depth. That I would require much more knowledge about the act than I currently possess.
Okay, so you are already in Indian Postal Service.
Yes, sir.
And you have completed 6 years. So would it be a step in the right direction to join the civil services when you have already gained the seniority of 5 years or 6 years?
Yes, sir. I almost 5 years now, sir, because I joined in December 2020. I'm
That's
a member
right.
of the 2020
5
batch.
years seniority you will lose if you join any other service, and you have opted for Group A services also in addition to IAS, IPS, and IFS. So would it be a right step to join other services which are Group A?
Yes, sir.
And even for IAS, would it be a right step that you have already gained 5 years seniority that you will lose if you join Indian Administrative Service or Indian Foreign Service?
So personally, my motivations for giving the exam at this attempt again were that I sort of did some self-reflection, and I came to the realization that the parts of the job in the Indian Postal Service which I enjoy are those which are those sort of challenges which I enjoyed in the Indian Postal Service form a greater part of the job experience which I could get if I even at this with the loss of seniority, which I could get if I get into one of the All India services. So that was the main motivation behind my.
Okay, what about Group A services? You have opted for those services also.
So Indian Foreign Service, I actually when I first gave the exam, that was my first choice of service. So I still think if I get an Indian Foreign Service, I would be happy giving up this loss of seniority because that is not something which I can control right now. So that is not something which I can choose.
So in addition to IAS and Indian Foreign Service and Indian Police Service, you have opted. What I'm saying is you have opted for
Understood.
other Group A services also.
Yes.
So would it be a right step to join those services if you have already gained the seniority of 5 or 6 years?
So I think I have made a decision which is based on very personal criteria. I don't think that this is in general, I agree, sir, that losing the loss of seniority might not be worth it. But I think for me personally, I would find greater job satisfaction if I am able to get into one of those services.
Okay, you are from the state of Punjab, and can you tell me the important problems which Punjab is facing?
So I think the biggest problem Punjab is facing currently is to do with its agricultural practices.
One.
Then, so the second biggest problem is that of drugs issue in Punjab.
Mm-hmm.
So then another problem is the fact that Punjab's economy is stuck in an agrarian stage, essentially. It's not moving on to manufacturing or services-led growth, as is seen in other comparable states. So the economic is not moving up the skill chain, so to speak. And so this leads to, and the consequent out-migration of Punjabi youth.
Okay, so let's talk about drug addiction. If you get into IAS and if you are allocated your own cadre, that is Punjab, and if you are posted in one of the districts which is adjoining Pakistan, so first of all, you will tell me what exactly has been done by the government for that drug addiction amongst youth, which are the steps which have been already taken to solve that problem, and which additional step would you like to take if you are posted as district magistrate in one of the border districts of your state?
Yes, sir. So the government is effectively taking an approach which is two-pronged. That is, look at the demand and the supply of drugs both. In terms of supply of drugs, the Punjab state government has created a special narcotics cell, which is headquartered in Chandigarh, and that cell is mandated to deal with the problem of drugs supply, the middlemen, the suppliers, and the whole network which goes into these kind of organized crime syndicates. So that they can take a holistic approach and not leave it to the district level police officers alone to tackle this problem. And so, in terms of the what you could call the demand side of drugs, Punjab has created a lot of mohalla level drug de-addiction centers, which are both available in rural and urban areas, and these are focusing on de-addiction programs. Secondly, sir, there are a lot of government schools, especially for the vulnerable youth. There are a lot of talks and so on, talks and educational awareness given to the fact that how drug addiction works and why it is why it should not people should not be tempted into that. Children especially should not be tempted into for that. So these are the first order, which you could call the first order solutions, which have been given by, which are being currently done by the Punjab state government. And so, as to the second part, if I'm posted in one of the bordering districts with Punjab, with Pakistan in Punjab, then sir, I think one is that the unique problems, if I would say, that a bordering district would have are that the supply is immediate. That there would be these networks. There could be these networks which focus on bringing drugs into Indian border via Pakistan. And so in Punjab, we've seen that most of these drugs which come across the border directly come in via mainly two routes. One is sort of drone-based delivery, which is countered by BSF mainly because BSF guards those borders. And the second is some tunnels which are dug in vulnerable in likely areas because of the geographical conditions, local geographic conditions. So you can take some tunnels, and these tunnels are then used as conduits for drugs to come into Punjab. So as a DM, I think the major role would be liaising with the BSF and providing them all effective support because ultimately they are the agency which is tasked with the maintaining the borders of India.
Okay, can EVs, electronic voting machine, be hacked? There is always indication from the opposition parties that these are being hacked. So can these be hacked?
So in general, anything which is electronic can be hacked in the sense that there can be unauthorized manipulation of any software or hardware because that is the nature of the game. But the EVMs specifically which India uses are created and stored and their whole process is managed in such a way that they are effectively as tamper-proof and hack-proof as possible. Mainly because they're very simple machines. They're just counting or adding machines. So because the more simpler the machine and the simpler the code.
My question, whether at all these can be hacked, electronic voting machines being used in our country can be hacked. So yes or no?
Yes, sir, they can be hacked.
Okay. Supercomputers, can you name some which are being used in our country for weather forecasting? Supercomputers being used in our country for weather forecasting.
So I think Parag was the name of supercomputer which is being used for
I
it.
am talking about those which are being used for weather forecasting.
Sorry, sir, I'm not able to recall the name right now.
Okay, what for our Honorable Prime Minister was in Paris few 1 or 2 weeks back. What for he was there in Paris? Which summit was scheduled there? Anyway, AI Action
Sorry, sir, I don't.
Summit. So in that AI Action Summit, amongst most of the things which were discussed related with AI, and our Honorable Prime Minister co-chaired that particular summit, a rocket system which is produced in our country, which is manufactured in our countries, in our country, was offered to France. And some military persons were invited by our Honorable Prime Minister to have a look into it. What exactly that rocket system was?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of this. I will read up more on this.
Okay, 10 pacts were signed between France and India during that particular visit. Can you name some, if at all you know?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of this particular.
Okay, reading books is your hobby. So which type of books do you read?
So I generally read all types of books, but lately I think I've been reading more non-fiction than fiction. So
which book you have read recently?
So I just actually finished a book called Supremacy by Pammy Olson. It's a story of the current AI climate, the current AI ecosystem, and it's told by looking into the sort of a biographical look at the lives of two of the most important people in it. That is Sam Altman and Demis Habbabis.
Okay, your father was brigadier in army. Has he got
Yes, sir.
superannuated?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell me, Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense. So can you give me some of the examples related with Make in India, and for the world related with defense?
Yes, sir. So the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative has created these defense corridors where sort of a defense ecosystem is to be set up in Chennai and UP. So the notable achievements of those are of the indigenization, if you could call it, indigenous defense systems are in terms of tanks, it would be Arjun tanks. In terms of missiles, it would be BrahMos missile, which is jointly developed by India and Russia. And so in terms of the Navy, it would be the sorry, sir, I can't recall the names
Okay,
exactly.
good enough. F-35 was offered to India during the visit of our Honorable Prime Minister to
The US.
US. So if at all we purchase F-35, then would it be a game changer or a costly trap?
So
If
I
at
think
all we purchase F-35 at this moment, would it be a game changer or a costly trap?
So I think if we go in for purchasing an F-35, then that we would not, as a nation, be able to utilize it to its fullest extent because from what I know of the F-35, its main task is that of the fact its main advantage comes from the fact that it has a whole ecosystem around it, which is that of the which you could call the Western defense goods. So it would have the radars, which would be in constant communication with other entities. But most of our defense goods are of mixed origin, either Indian or Russian, and are now increasingly from the West. So this interoperability and intercommunication between different machines would not be possible in our case. So we would not be able to fully utilize the F-35's capabilities as a integrator of sorts. So we would only be utilizing it as a standalone machine. And in that, and so the major issue is that we would not be able to fully utilize but we would have to essentially pay out for the full cost.
By what time we will be able to develop such type of most advanced fighter aircraft?
So I think the biggest hurdle is the fact that we're not able to develop our own jet engine technology. And the Kaveri project, which has been going on for decades now, has not been able to achieve success in that. So I think the fact that we are now pushing for indigenization, if we look at comparable countries, if we look at China's example, it from most reliable estimates, in the 2005s, it sort of started to reverse engineer from Soviet Sukhoi jets the technology to create a jet engine, and by around 2020s, by the 2020s, it was able to successfully create its own fighter jet engine, which it now indigenously produces and uses it in its own fighter jets. So if you look at that timeline, then I think probably 2 decades could be a timeline for creating a jet engine, which is the most technologically sophisticated part of
Okay,
the jet.
income tax new regime, you might have seen during the budget session. What exactly that is? So related with that, tell me one thing. If a salaried person is having annual salary of 12.75 lakhs, how much amount of tax, that is the income tax, he is required to pay? 12.75 lakhs per annum.
So the income tax regime increased the tax rebate
No,
in the
my
income slab.
specific question, if at
Yes, sir.
all he or she is drawing an annual income of 12.75 lakhs, then how much tax, income tax, he is required to pay, he or she is required to pay?
So I'm not very conversant with the exact slabs, but from what I understand of the income tax regime, the rebate only applies to people who are earning below 12 lakh rupees. So the 12.75 lakh rupees, it is not as if the 12 lakh rupees is exempted and he would only have to pay on the 75,000 rupees. He would have to essentially pay even on, like, compared to a person who's earning below 12 lakhs, he might have to pay more income tax in that
Okay,
sense.
repo rate. What is repo rate, and what is the present value of that repo rate now?
So the present value, the repo rate is 6.25%, and repo
Okay,
rate.
what exactly the repo rate is? You are right, whatever you have said.
Yes, sir.
What exactly the repo rate is?
So the repo rate is the rate at which the RBI can lend money to banks.
Good enough. So RBI lends the money to commercial bank. Now, my next question would be that why RBI lends the money to the commercial bank? What for?
So the repo rate is a tool by the RBI to manage the liquidity of liquidity
So
of money in
one,
the economy.
liquidity. What else?
So secondly, sometimes banks do have short-term needs, credit needs, because of an imbalance in their own asset management cycles. So they might have, for example, a bank might have might have a lot of retail customers who would not want to keep their money parked for a very long duration, but it might have given out a lot of the money in terms of loans to projects which have a long gestation cycle. So to manage that temporary crunch, when the retail customers require their money back, but the bank might not be in a position at that moment to call for the money back from the lenders to people to whom it is lent, then it can go to the RBI and obtain that money.
Okay, safeguards available to the civil servants under the Constitution. Under which article of the Constitution?
Article 311 of the Constitution.
311. So what exactly Article 311 is? You are right. Go ahead.
So the import of the article is that no civil servant can be dismissed or harmed in his service conditions without being given
the clause is, what exactly not clause, what exactly the article is. It does not relate only with the dismissal. What else?
And so harm, essentially reduction in service conditions or harm in service conditions, that is pay, your rank, or emoluments, without being given the opportunity to be heard, without natural. So sorry, sir, I don't recall the exact wording, but from what I remember, this is the
opportunity of
import.
being heard is given or not?
Yes, sir, without being given the opportunity of being heard.
Without being given the opportunity of being heard,
he cannot be harmed or in a service condition or dismissed.
Okay, so Mr. Nihal, your interview is over. Now you tell me, how do you rate yourself? Good, very good, outstanding.
Okay, so I think I'm actually not a very great interviewer. I've only given it once before, and I think I was trying to. So this is my first interview one-to-one, second, sorry, in this cycle. My interview was on 11th April. I think I delayed it a lot.
11th of April.
And
Okay.
yes, sir. So I think I delayed it a lot. I need to probably work a lot harder on it now. So I think it
Okay.
was mediocre.
Definitely, it was not mediocre. It was very good. But
Okay.
it has to be improved little bit to be outstanding. Very good था, mediocre नहीं था, good भी नहीं था, very good. But I would say, frankly, that definitely not outstanding. So
Yes, sir, yes.
enough time is there. Approximately, I can say 19, 20.
3 odd weeks, sir.
Eh?
Just under 3
Yeah.
weeks, I think.
Yeah. So that is there. So in the meanwhile, what you would do is, though you
So
might
can I
be
just get a
very
pen?
well,
So
you have
I'll just.
already appeared in the interview, you have been selected also. But even then, I will tell you that where.
Can you please give me a second, sir? I'll just get a pen. I just need to write down.
Okay, you can take the pen. I think you will get the video also. But if you want to
Okay.
write, you can. It may take some time to provide you with the video. So you can write if you so wish.
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. So first thing, you will identify the probable questions from your DEF and current affairs. अभी तो देखिए बजट सेशन चल रहा है और your interview will be held on 11th of April. So up to then, budget session will continue. So definitely budget related issues, the matters being discussed in the budget session of the parliament. Second round है ना budget session of the parliament.
The final session.
So identify the probable questions from your DEF and prepare them well. And which newspaper do you read?
The Indian Express.
Indian Express. If you can add one more related with economics, it will be a very good step. So related with the economics, I would suggest you Mint. Otherwise, you can select any other newspaper also, Economic Times, Financial Express, whatever you want, you can. But my personal choice will be Mint. Why Mint? Because even if you don't read the entire newspaper and if you go only through the headlines and the matter written in the blogs and all that, then also that can serve some purpose. Otherwise, you can select any, not a very big issue. So related with economics, you have to read one newspaper. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Related with that, since your subject is PSIR and I asked you to select any constitutional amendment about which you are comfortable, and so related with that, Minerva Mill case judgment, two important provisions made through 42nd Amendment in the Constitution were struck down by Honorable Supreme Court. One of them was precedence of directive principles of state policy over fundamental rights. And number two was Parliament can amend any part of the Constitution was struck down on the basis of which judgment? Structure of the Constitution related. What was that judgment?
Keshavananda Bharati judgment.
Keshavananda Bharati case judgment. Already decision was taken in that the basic structure of the Constitution cannot be changed. So that was cited, and the provision which was made through 42nd Amendment of the Constitution, that was Parliament can amend any part of the Constitution, was struck down. So these were the two important provisions struck down by Honorable Supreme Court in the Minerva Mill case judgment. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Parliament can amend any part of the Constitution, and second was precedence of directive principles of state policy over fundamental rights. 51A, A was added in the Article 51 for fundamental duties. So ये 42nd Amendment था. After that, through 86th Amendment in the Constitution, right to education, fundamental right was added. And through 11th fundamental duty, which was introduced through that particular constitutional amendment 86, that was, as you have rightly mentioned, it is the duty of the parents or the guardians that the basic, primary education, that is from 6 to 14, be provided to the son
Wards.
or whatever the case is. So it is the duty of the parents. Wherever parents are not there,
The guardians.
then guardians. So that was the 11th fundamental duty added. Okay.
Yes, sir. I mean,
4% reservation for Muslims in the government contracts in Karnataka. Definitely, it is not as per constitution. Nowhere it is mentioned that reservation in any form, in any type, can be given on the basis of religion. Nowhere it is mentioned. Okay.
Understood.
Related
Okay.
with that, whether at all electronic voting machine can be hacked. Your answer should have been, because you are from electronics and communication, since it is a standalone machine, it cannot be hacked. It can
Yes,
be
sir.
rigged, but cannot be hacked. Okay? Paris AI Action Summit. For that,
Yes, sir.
our Honorable Prime Minister was there, and he co-chaired that particular summit along with French President. So the rocket system which was offered to France was Pinaka rocket system, and 10 pacts were signed there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
My another question was that whether at all F-35 could be a game changer or a costly trap, and by what time we would be able to form such type of fighter aircraft. So by 2028, we would be able to prepare a prototype of that, and by 2035, we will be able to produce this type of aircraft by the year 2035. So at present, what we can do? We can purchase some, but not on the large scale, because it is a very costly aircraft. Very costly. So by 2028, we will be able to produce the prototype, and by 2035, we will be able to produce these type of aircrafts by the year 2035. अब आपके फादर क्योंकि ब्रिगेडियर रहे, इसलिए ऐसे क्वेश्चंस कुछ डिफेंस से रिलेटेड हो सकते हैं. ठीक है. तो अभी हमको, if at all we want to purchase, then we can purchase in a small amount, because we will be producing them subsequently. Costly है बहुत ज्यादा, तो इतना ज्यादा करने की जरूरत नहीं है. और मेक इन इंडिया फॉर द वर्ल्ड, इंपॉर्टेंट एग्जाम्पल एक तो यही हो गया, पिनाका रॉकेट सिस्टम बाय DRDO. एक हो जाएगा आपका AK-203 राइफल बीइंग प्रोड्यूस्ड इन इंडियन ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्री अमेठी. मेक इन इंडिया फॉर इंडिया एंड फॉर द वर्ल्ड. So we have already started producing AK-203, and we will be exporting them in the years to come. So another example of Make in India for India and for the world. Another example, major example could be Vajra 9, which is produced in Surat, Hazira. And we started producing Vajra 9 approximately, say, about 4 years back. So this can also be a good example. We are producing them with the help of L&T. So since you are an engineer, so you should know about that. L&T, Larsen and Toubro, you might be knowing. So this will also be an example of
Atmanirbhar Bharat, defense indigenization
for the world. There are so many other examples also related with income tax slab.
Yes, sir.
So 0 to 4, 0, since you are already in the service. So 0 to 4, 0, 4 to 8, 5 lakhs I am talking about. 8 to 12, 10, and 12 to 16, 15, and 12 to 20, 20%. Now my question was that how much a person who is drawing the salary of 12.75 lakhs is required to pay. So their actual income would be only 12, because 75 would be given as
Okay, the standard deduction.
Standard deduction, yeah. So 12.75, no tax.
No tax. Got it.
Now, I could have asked you that what about 12.76 lakhs? So 12.76 lakhs ke liye only 1 lakh. Because it doesn't seem
Okay.
justified to charge him under that particular slab since the income is increasing only by 1,000. For 1,000 increase, you can't charge 30 or 40% under that particular slab, which I have already mentioned. Because
Okay.
there is a
Understood.
marginal increase. So he or she will be required to pay only 1,000 income tax for the pay if he or she is drawing 12.76 lakhs. If it is 12.77 lakh, then 2,000. Similarly, 12.78 lakh, 3,000. But if his or her income is more than 13.5 lakh or 14 lakh, then he or she will be required to pay income tax as per that particular new slab only. 0240, 4285. I think this matter is clear to you.
I'll look into it slightly, but I understand, sir. I mean, I was
Yeah.
confused by that section that rebates are only applicable to people who earn below 12 lakh rupees.
हाँ, तो 12 में 75 standard deduction हो जाएगा, so his net pay would be only 12 lakh.
Only 12.
So for 12.7 lakh, understand it clearly. For 12.7 lakh, no tax. For 12.76 lakhs, it won't be charged under that particular slab which I have mentioned. Only 1,000 will be charged because a person who is drawing only 1,000 extra, then 12.75 lakhs, you can't punish them by charging 40 or 35 lakhs under that particular slab only. But if his her pay is approximately 13.5 lakh or so, then you will charge under that particular slab only. Okay? So related with that, 311. So normally opportunity of being heard is given to the person. So dismissal, removal and reduction in rank of a person cannot be done by an authority who is subordinate to the appointing authority. Okay. So this is the clause 311. Dismissal, removal or not clause. This is the article under the Constitution. So dismissal, removal or reduction in rank of a person cannot be done by an authority who is subordinate to the appointing authority. And an opportunity of being heard is to be given. But if the authority is satisfied that there is no need of opportunity being given to the person concerned, it is not it is very much clear that he has committed that particular offense, and due to some other reasons also, if it is not possible to conduct the inquiry, then under the section and clause and article of 311 2B, 311 is the article, and then 2B, that is the clause, that opportunity can be avoided. That opportunity need not be given. In normal circumstances, an opportunity of being heard is given. But in exceptional cases, it is not given. And that is under that particular article 302B. Okay? So yes, I'm telling you this because it can be a very important question. So since you are from PSIR, optional subject is रिलेटेड विद रेपो रेट 6.25 आपने ठीक बताया था. रिवर्स रेपो रेट 3.35 है, आप जान रहे होंगे. और रीजन फॉर क्यों होता है रेपो रेट, व्हाट फॉर आरबीआई लेंड्स द मनी टू द कमर्शियल बैंक एंड ऑल दैट, वो आपने बताया ही. ठीक है, तो यू आर ए वेरी गुड कैंडिडेट. लेकिन अब या तो आप थोड़ा सा ये लीजिए, लीव लीजिए और हो जाएगा. फिर थोड़ा सा आपको थोड़ा और करना पड़ेगा to be doubly sure that you are in. What I think is there is no need to go to other group A services. You can go to IAS or you can go to Indian Foreign Service.
Yes, उसका फिर मैं भी क्या करूँ? I mean, if they ask on that
अब आप उसके लिए अगर कोई पूछे कि आपने ये भी फिलअप कर रखे हैं, सर दिस वाज जस्ट टू सी माय नेम इन that some post is given to me. बाकी तो देखिए ऑनेस्ट आंसर तो दिस कुड बी, आई थिंक आपने जो भरा होगा ये सोच के भरा होगा, आप जाओगे क्या?
ऑनेस्टली तो प्रॉब्ली नहीं जाऊंगा, मतलब बट फिर
नहीं
वो।
जाएगा, क्योंकि 5 ईयर सीनियरिटी बहुत होती है। और
यस
पोस्टल
सर।
सर्विस से भी लोग पहुंच रहे हैं ना, यूपीएससी के चेयरमैन भी रहे हैं, आप जानते होंगे, और
हम्म।
सेक्रेटरी तक पहुंचते ही हैं वो भी लोग। और
फिर
आप
तो
भी 6 साल आपको क्यों हो गए? आई थिंक यू माइट हैव जॉइंड दैट सर्विस एट द एज ऑफ 22 और 3।
नो सर, 24,
24,
24, 25,
okay.
24।
Let it be 24 only. So they are also going to that particular level. So I won't suggest you to go to those services. If at all you want to go to other service, then you can go to IAS or Indian Foreign Service. I won't suggest you to go to even for Indian Police Service. उसमें भी
व्हाई इज दैट?
हैं, इंडियन पुलिस
व्हाई
सर्विस में
नॉट?
भी मत जाना, 5 साल की सीनियरिटी बहुत होती है। एनीवे, बाकी तो इट्स योर ओन विल, व्हाटएवर यू वांट।
यस सर।
वो तो ये है, तो यही है। और कोई आपका क्वेश्चन हो, आप पूछना चाहें पूछिए।
सर इस टाइप का
मैंने
सवाल कि
आपके
लाइक।
बैकग्राउंड से ही पूछे,
यस सर।
और बैकग्राउंड से, और करंट अफेयर्स भी उसमें हो गए। फादर ब्रिगेडियर है, इसलिए डिफेंस का अच्छे से करना, इसीलिए मैंने डिफेंस के क्वेश्चन आपसे थोड़ा सा ज्यादा पूछे।
हाँ सर, जैसे these kind of questions that why do you want to change, I mean similar theme essentially, but like why do you want to join these IAS or
देखिए,
uh,
बाकी के लिए तो बड़ा अच्छा जस्टिफिकेशन है, वो तो है ही कि भाई जो जो लोग नॉर्मल देते हैं वही है। वहाँ पे वाइड स्कोप है, और ये सारा कुछ डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ जॉब्स हैं, दिस दैट। और आज की डेट में तो क्या है कि अगर आप पोस्टल सर्विस में हैं, अब ये हमारा ऑफ द रिकॉर्ड बात होगी,
हम्म,
पोस्टल सर्विस में है तो आप डीएम नहीं बन सकते केवल, है ना, डीएम नहीं बन सकते।
हार्डर जॉब
और
है।
कमिश्नर जो बनते हैं, तो कमिश्नर में तो कमिश्नर के इक्विवेलेंट बन ही सकते हैं, आप जाते ही हैं जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी, और इनमें सब में एडिशनल सेक्रेटरी, सेक्रेटरी, इनमें सब में जा ही सकते हैं। लेकिन उसमें तो डेफिनेटली आईएएस में बेटर स्कोप है, इंडियन फॉरेन सर्विस में बेटर स्कोप है, वाइल्ड वाइल्ड कह रहा हूँ, वाइड वेराइटी ऑफ जॉब्स है, इस टाइप का है। तो यही आंसर उसके होते हैं, और ये हैवी है थोड़ा
कुछ भी
सा,
है।
ये सही भी है। मतलब आपको ऑनेस्ट आंसर देना है, तो ऑनेस्ट आंसर तो यही है ना,
हम्म।
कि वहां पे ज्यादा स्कोप है। ठीक है, मेरी सैलरी दोबारा से कम हो जाएगी और दोबारा से मैं स्टार्ट करूंगा, लेकिन उसमें क्योंकि जॉब सेटिस्फेक्शन मिलेगा, डिफरेंट टाइप्स का जॉब करूंगा, ये करूंगा, तो यही रीजन है। लेकिन उनमें जाने का कोई खास वो नहीं है, जो ग्रुप ए सर्विसेज आपने जो और भरी है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई,
वो शायद नहीं भरनी चाहिए थी, आई
या
थिंक।
जीएसटी, नहीं तो उसका आपका आंसर ये हो सकता है, और शायद आपने इसलिए भरे हो टू, आपका नेम तो वैसे भी आ जाएगा उसमें, है ना, लिस्ट में आएगा, कहीं ना कहीं कोई मेरिट लिस्ट आएगी, लेकिन आपको कोई ना कोई सर्विस मिले टू सी दैट परहैप्स यू माइट हैव फील्ड दैट ड्यू टू दैट पर्टिकुलर रीजन। अदरवाइज इसका जवाब देना मुश्किल हो जाएगा,
मुश्किल है।
क्योंकि वो ठीक भी नहीं लगता है कि 6 इयर्स की सीनियरिटी में, फॉर आईएएस भी 6 ईयर 5 इयर्स की सीनियरिटी बहुत है, ये आप समझ लीजिए, इवन फॉर गोइंग टू IAS। लेकिन चलो फिर भी, दैट कैन बी जस्टिफाइड, दैट कैन बी said that on these
हाँ।
very grounds I am reappearing in the examination and all that, variety of jobs and all that, है ना, better satisfaction, ये सारा आप बोल सकते हैं। Anyway, let's hope for the best and I think you will do well. आपका
थैंक
और
यू
कोई
सर।
क्वेश्चन है तो बोलिए।
नहीं सर, मेनली तो मतलब मेरे को उसी एंगल में थोड़ा टेंशन होता है, बाकी तो ठीक है,
अब
फैक्चुअल
टेंशन
एंड
में
वो
उसकी
सब तो।
जरूरत नहीं है, बस यही है कि उसमें वैरायटी ऑफ जॉब्स, जॉब सेटिस्फेक्शन ज्यादा होगा, वैरायटी ऑफ जॉब्स होंगी, दिस दैट, वो आप मेंशन कर सकते
ओके।
हैं। ये भी अच्छे, लेकिन ये जरूर कहना कि ये भी प्रेजेंट जॉब भी मेरी अच्छी है, आई एम एंजॉयिंग दिस, बट ये इसको वो नहीं करना है, मतलब
डेनिग्रेट नहीं करना बिल्कुल भी,
हाँ
यस।
वो नहीं करना है, डिग्रेड नहीं करना है, ठीक है ना। तो
यस।
उस तरीके से निकल जाइएगा। और फॉर अदर सर्विसेज यू विल रीथिंक, एंड आई हैव फील्ड दीज सर्विसेज टू keep this into consideration, that I just want to see my name in that this service is allotted to me.
कीप माय ऑप्शंस
अदरवाइज क्या
ओपन।
होता है, अगर आप नहीं भरते हैं तो सर्विस अलॉट नहीं होती है, आपका मेरिट में केवल नाम आ जाता है, आप जानते हो, you know that whatever I'm saying
यस
you
सर।
might be knowing that.
यस सर।
So this could be the ground for filling other
सर्विसेज।
other services. Okay, I hope you will do well. और hair cutting तो भैया कराना उससे।
हाँ वो तो अभी हमारा मार्च एंड चलता है पोस्टल में, तो
अब मैं
फाइनेंशियल ईयर
जानता
से
हूँ
लिंक्ड है, तो
सभी में
इट्स
ही बड़ा ही हेक्टिक है,
बस अप्रैल से आई थिंक छुट्टी ले लूंगा एंड
और कम से
लकीली
कम
थोड़ा
10 डेज पहले करा लेना। हाँ, 10 डेज की आप छुट्टी जरूर लेना, 1 to 10 आपको आराम से मिल
फर्स्ट से मिल जाएंगे,
और
हाँ वो बात कर
फर्स्ट
लो।
क्या होता है, 29 30 तो वैसे भी छुट्टी है, 31 को आपको जाना होगा।
31 से ईद है सर, मतलब जितना मुझे आइडिया है वो शायद
अच्छा,
छुट्टी
ईद है तो बस, तो आपको
ए 9th बेसिकली।
20 नहीं 29 तो आई थिंक सैटरडे संडे।
29 30 सैटरडे संडे सर।
अच्छा 29 30, हाँ तो 31 ईद हो गई, तो 28 ही हो गया, लेकिन छुट्टी आपको लेनी पड़ेगी। देखो
यस सर, यस सर।
थोड़ा सा मेहनत और करनी है। आपका आज का परफॉर्मेंस, हाँ एक बात और, आपके कहीं कहीं पे लेंदी हो रहे थे आंसर्स। You have already appeared, you might be knowing that there will be 5 members including the chairman, and approximately 4 or 5 questions will be asked by each and every member, so 25 minutes will be given to you. So first, your I mean response should not exceed 50 seconds or at the max 1 minute. If anybody wants to
ओके,
know related with a particular point, he will ask you the subsequent question. So I wish you all the best.
थैंक यू सर।
ठीक है,
ओके, यस
I
सर,
want to see your name in, और होगा आपका, आएगा,
थैंक यू सर।
लेकिन थोड़ा सा और मेहनत। Okay, all the best.
थैंक यू सर।